When Conan O'Brien walked onto the TBS stage on November 8, 2010, it wasn't just the start of another talk show. It was a television event, complete with a 4-minute cold open that turned his own network exile into comedy. All eyes were on how O'Brien would reintroduce himself and address the fallout from the Tonight Show debacle that had dominated headlines earlier that year. The story was already legendary. NBC wanted to push O'Brien's Tonight Show to 12:05 a.m. to make room for Jay Leno's return at 11:35 p.m. O'Brien refused, and a messy breakup ensued. While many expected him to resurface at Fox, he surprised everyone by signing with basic cable channel TBS. By the time Conan premiered, the hype was immense. O'Brien had spent his contractually mandated 7 months off television, nurturing a direct connection with fans, joining Twitter, selling out a live tour, and promoting his TBS debut with an orange blimp and daily drops of limited edition Conan shirts. As he had done with Late Night and The Tonight Show, O'Brien opened his new chapter with a filmed sketch full of meta, self-deprecating humor. Styled like a movie trailer, the premiere's cold open dramatized his NBC exit, complete with a Godfather-inspired shootout, a cameo from Mad Men's Don Draper Jon Hamm, and a heavenly intervention from Larry King. "You want me to move The Tonight Show to 12:05? Go to hell!" O'Brien shouts before being riddled with bullets by network gunmen. A doctor later informs him, "The good news is you'll live. The bad news is you'll never work in network television again." In the final gag, TBS executives slide a written offer across the table: less. O'Brien unfolds the paper to reveal the full deal: much less. The premiere featured Seth Rogen, Lea Michele, and musical guest Jack White, drawing more than 4 million viewers, topping even The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and its broadcast rivals. It was a statement debut for both O'Brien and the cable channel that had bet big on him. Creative freedom was one of TBS's biggest selling points, and for years the network made good on that promise. But as the economics of linear TV shifted, so did Conan. In 2019, the show dropped its band and moved to a half-hour format, leaner, looser, and still distinctly Conan. He finally signed off in June 2021, closing the book on a 3-decade TV run while building a new empire around his hit podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. When Conan O'Brien strode onto the TBS stage on November 8, 2010, it wasn't merely the launch of a new talk show. It was a celebrated television comeback. After a tumultuous, highly publicized exit from NBC, all eyes in the industry and among his devoted fanbase were fixed on how the ginger-haired host would reintroduce himself, and, more importantly, how he would address the dramatic Tonight Show debacle that had consumed the media landscape earlier that year. The backdrop to the premiere of Conan was already the stuff of late-night legend. O'Brien had inherited The Tonight Show in 2009, but the transition quickly turned toxic. NBC's brass sought to push O'Brien's show back to the 12:05 a.m. slot to facilitate the return of Jay Leno to the 11:35 p.m. hour. O'Brien famously and fiercely refused the compromise, triggering a messy public breakup and his subsequent departure with a hefty payout. While industry speculation heavily favored a move to Fox, O'Brien executed a stunning surprise by signing with basic cable channel TBS, a move that fundamentally altered the perception of cable as a viable home for A-list late-night talent. Building the hype. The 7-month exile. By the time the premiere date arrived, the hype surrounding Conan was immense and meticulously engineered. O'Brien had spent the contractually mandated 7 months off television not in hibernation, but actively nurturing a direct, often subversive, connection with his fans. This period of forced exile proved to be a masterclass in modern celebrity marketing. He rapidly became an essential presence on Twitter, connecting with fans without the filter of network television. His legally prohibited from being funny on television tour sold out venues across North America. He relentlessly promoted his TBS debut through guerrilla tactics, including the deployment of a recognizable orange blimp and the daily release of limited edition Conan shirts. The intense connection forged during the exile guaranteed a massive audience for the show's debut. The cold open, turning trauma into comedy true to form. O'Brien kicked off his new chapter with a brilliant, highly stylized film sketch that deployed meta, self-deprecating humor to great effect, mirroring the memorable cold opens he utilized for both Late Night and The Tonight Show debuts. Styled like a movie trailer titled The Re-Entry, the 4-minute cold open brilliantly dramatized his NBC exit, employing high-budget production values and surprising cameos to poke fun at his own corporate trauma. The shootout. The sketch depicted an intense, Godfather-inspired shootout where O'Brien confronts network executives. "You want me to move The Tonight Show to 12:05? Go to hell!" he screams, before being graphically riddled with bullets by network gunmen. A grim prognosis. A doctor later delivers the bad news. The good news is you'll live. The bad news is you'll never work in network television again. Star cameos. The sequence featured surprise appearances, notably a cool, dramatic entrance from Jon Hamm as Mad Men's Don Draper and a satirical heavenly intervention by talk show veteran Larry King. The TBS punchline. The final crowning gag featured TBS executives sliding a written offer across the table labeled "less." When O'Brien unfolds the paper, the full details of the offer are revealed. Much less. The joke brilliantly undercut the idea of a massive payday while simultaneously acknowledging the increased creative freedom offered by cable. A statement, debut, and evolving formats. The premiere was an unequivocal success. Featuring celebrity guests Seth Rogen and Lea Michele, along with musical guest Jack White, the debut episode drew a staggering more than 4 million viewers. This number was a powerful statement, topping even The Tonight Show with Jay Leno and all other broadcast rivals in the time slot. It was a massive victory, not just for O'Brien, but for TBS, the cable channel that had gambled its reputation on a late-night star. TBS initially delivered on its promise of creative freedom. However, as the television landscape evolved and the economics of linear TV dramatically shifted, so too did Conan. In a final transformative change in 2019, the show shed its traditional late-night elements, dropping its house band and moving to a half-hour format. This final iteration was notably leaner, looser, and still distinctly Conan, prioritizing interviews and shorter, more focused segments suited for online viewing. O'Brien finally signed off from TBS in June 2021, bringing to a close a phenomenal 3-decade run in television. While the curtain closed on his traditional TV career, he successfully transitioned into a new media empire built around his wildly successful and acclaimed podcast, Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, ensuring his voice and comedic genius continued to dominate the entertainment landscape.